Okay, in this video, I'm going to be introducing you to a very important concept called buyer stages. But before we dive into that, let's start by looking at the high-level activities that we do on social media and online as well, in order to get people to take the particular action that we want. The first is all of the stuff that we're doing on social media. This accounts for things like creating and scheduling content, engaging with people by writing comments, and trying to get more followers. And eventually, what we want to do is get them to click through to one of our web assets, and this will boost our web traffic. And once we get that web traffic, the aim is then to convert them into what's called a marketing lead. And this is different to a sales lead. A marketing lead is where someone has expressed interest in receiving future marketing correspondence from you. Now, the most typical way to generate marketing leads is to offer something of value. And this could be some piece of content like a free ebook, basically anything that people are willing to exchange their email address for. Then from there, the aim is to turn those marketing leads, those people who are now in your email marketing list, into sales leads. And the difference between a marketing lead and a sales lead is that a sales lead is someone who has expressed some sort of interest in buying from you. So the conversion from a marketing lead into a sales lead can occur when someone expresses interest in buying from you. So that could be contacting you to ask about a price, or could be to ask about a particular feature of the product or service that you offer. And the goal then is to take those sales leads and convert them into paying customers. Now, you'll hear us use the term conversions quite regularly. What is a conversion? A conversion is any action that people take. So that could be downloading an ebook, which is an example already used, starting a free trial, booking an appointment with you, any type of action. Now, the reality is that every business has a different sales process. For some, they might go straight from traffic to becoming a paying customer. For others, there are steps in between. So it's really important for you to work out exactly how you are going to push people from social media all the way to becoming those paying customers. But the reality is that very, very few people actually move in a straight line like this. People have nanosecond attention spans. Dogs bark, they receive messages, they get push notifications on their smartphone. There's so many things pulling our attention today. And there literally are an infinite number of customer journeys that people can have. Or maybe at the time that you first get in front of people, they're just not ready to buy your particular product or service. A great example of this might be something like a mortgage broker. Maybe people hear about that mortgage broker a year or even 2 years before they finally are ready to purchase a property. So to help us maximize purchases and account for the myriad of different customer journeys that people can take, we use the framework of buyer stages. Buyer stages are the stages that people go through from becoming aware of a brand, product, or service for the first time, to considering whether or not to buy, to taking an action towards becoming a paying customer, and then finally deciding to make a purchase, to then continuing to purchase from that company, and finally becoming a brand advocate and championing the brand's product or services. Now, you'll notice that it's a funnel. Why? Pretty simple. We want to put as many people as we can through the top, and then have as many as we can possibly move through it. And at each stage, there are typically less people. However, many people do get stuck at that consideration and conversion stage. Buyer stages can sometimes be referred to as the buyer's journey or the customer journey. And if you're a government organization and you're not necessarily selling anything, sometimes they're called audience stages or audience's journey. There's lots of different names for it, but don't get confused. So how does this relate to social media marketing? Well, when we're thinking about social media, a lot of what we're doing is building up brand authority. We're trying to establish our credibility and position ourselves as an authority in our industry. Branding can inform a consumer's decision about which business to buy from. So let's just take these shoes as an example. This unbranded pair leaves a potential customer with a lot of questions about the product. Is it good quality? Is it trustworthy? Is it a fair price? Will there be good after-sales service? The reality is, for most people who have never seen this shoe before, they're in the awareness or consideration buyer stage. But whenever I've shown this slide in a face-to-face presentation, I always ask, who would buy this shoe? There's only ever one or two hands go up. It's a small group of people who just happen to be sitting in the decision stage when you get in front of them. Now, compare the exact same shoe, but with the Nike brand on it. That little swoosh changes pretty much everything. You're immediately aware of the brand, unless you're living in a cave. All right, you know it's a market leader. You know Nike is an industry authority. It's why Nike spends hundreds of millions of dollars every year putting their brand on the world's top athletes to reinforce this in the mind of consumers. In all likelihood, you're already sold on Nikes. You're in the conversion or the decision stage. You probably just need to know how much the shoes are. Why do we use buyer stages? Well, there's a couple of reasons for it. Firstly, we want to make sure that we tailor our message on social media and our content that we produce based on where our audience is in the funnel. And this ultimately will mean that we deliver the right message to the right person at the right time. Secondly, social media is leaned back. People aren't necessarily on social media to buy like they are when they're on a search engine. So using buyer stages will actually ensure that we meet people where they are. We create content that matches their social media experience. And instead of interrupting them, we add value and we make the social media experience better, not annoying and interruptive. The third reason is that buyer stages will also form the basis of our paid social media advertising strategy. And ultimately, it will build a stronger brand, it will increase loyalty, and ultimately increase conversions. Now, at each of the different buyer stages, we have a different goal, a different objective. And this is because at each of those stages, your prospects have a different state of mind. And I want to give you an anecdote for this. Let's just say you walk past a retail store and you've never ever seen it before, and they're selling shoes. And you walk past and you say, hey, that looks okay, I might just pop in and check it out. And you walk into that store and the salesperson comes right up in your face and says, hey, what do you want to buy today? And you get really offended because it's the very first time you've seen this store and you're just browsing, and so you get offended and you walk out of the retail store. Now, compare that to someone who's maybe been past that retail store 100 times before. Maybe they've been in there a few times and they're actually in the market for a new pair of shoes. And they walk into the retail store and the salesperson comes up and greets them in exactly the same way. They say, hey, how are you? What can we get for you today? And you're like, hey, actually, I need a size 11 of these particular shoes. They're like, great, come over here. And that person buys the shoes straight away. Now, the difference there wasn't the way in which the salesperson approached the prospect. The difference was the state of mind that the prospect was in. So I want you to keep that in mind as we walk through the different goals that we have at each of these buyer stages. At the awareness stage, our goal is to connect. We want to make your prospects aware of your brand, product, or service for the very first time. At the consideration stage, the goal is to convince the prospect. We want to position our brand, product, or service as the industry authority. We want to make it out to be a superior choice over competitors. At the conversion stage, our goal is to make people convert. We want to compel them to take some type of action towards becoming a paying customer. Then at the decision stage, the goal is to actually make them a customer or a user or a member or whatever it is that you are specifically trying to achieve. At the retention stage, our goal is to get them to continue. We want to drive repeat business or reinforce their purchasing decision. We want to make them feel good about buying from you and not have any of that buyer's remorse, the regret that you get from buying. And finally, at the advocacy stage, our goal is to get them to champion the brand. We want the existing customers to write positive reviews. We want them to recommend the product or service to their friends and so on. And this is really the marketing nirvana. If you get this right, if you get a lot of people becoming advocates, then marketing becomes quite easy. Now, the irony of social media marketing is we're spending all this time on social media trying to get our prospects off social media. Because at the top of the funnel, we typically want them to visit one of our web pages, whether that's your website or some dedicated landing pages that you have, or maybe even a funnel. And then we want to capture their email address somehow, which would make them a marketing lead or a marketing qualified lead, which means that they are willing to hear more from you, but it does not mean that they're yet interested in buying from you. And then we want them to visit one of our sales pages. And these are the web pages where you talk about your product or service, what you offer, and so on. And ideally, when on these pages, they express some sort of interest in buying from you. And then once they've done that, they then become a paying customer or a user or a member. The key message here is you need to work out how your organization sells. What is its sales process? How does it go about selling? And then whatever we're doing with our social media marketing, we want to make sure we align to that sales process. We don't want social media going in one direction and your sales process going in another.